What's up, guys? Mike Barkov will live free. This is Twisted Tracklist. Today is a little bit of a different episode. I found on Twitter this dude. I can't remember his Twitter name, but his Spotify name is Zay, and he said something about he made the perfect Kendrick Lamar album. So I went and I checked that out, listened to it a few times. My first thoughts just off of looking at this, an hour and 22-minute album. It's not a thing. If you look at albums, most of them are under an hour and 20 minutes because that's how much minutes the average CD disc can hold. So that right there was like, no, you gotta fix this. I'm not trying to ream this dude by any means. He had a pretty decent track list, but he needed to cut something out. And honestly, I couldn't get into it too much. Again, not trying to ream this dude. He was picking the songs he liked. Always go for that. That's sweet. Um, you know, I hope you enjoy listening to that album for sure. But I went and I put together my own, and I kind of took what he was trying to do, which was make something that's like cohesive yet the standout tracks. And I kind of took some inspiration from Nas for this one. I want to do something like Illmatic, a 10-track album that's like just showcasing the best of the artist. So to do that, I took 3 songs from each of his biggest albums. Good Kid, Mad City, Spin, Butterfly, and Damn. One song is off of Untitled Unmastered, so that's 9 plus 10. There you have it. I actually kept some of his track list intact. Some of it is exactly what he had in there. Like the first 3 songs, I believe, are exactly how his were. Maybe the first 4. First 3 were exactly how his were. Wesley's Theory, The Art of Peer Pressure, and Money Trees. Now, when you went into Twitter, he was giving you an explanation on this. Wesley's Theory, his explanation for this was basically it's a really good intro, which, yeah, I agree, it is a really good intro. Which when I was reading this, I was a little skeptical because of how he was explaining it. But I went and listened to it and actually worked for the first like 3 or 4 tracks where they were. That goes into the art of peer pressure, which is about Kendrick growing up. So you have Kendrick talking about himself at age 27 and then talking about him growing up. And then you go into Money Trees, which is him kind of talking about basically how greedy he's gotten and egotistical he's gotten. Money Trees also has more layers to it, but I mean, like, you know, as that song as a whole, that's kind of what I think about is how he's talking about how he's growing. He's gotten rich, and I mean, there's obviously other layers to that. I don't listen to Money Trees as much as other people do. I haven't really read about it on Genius. I haven't listened to Money Trees, like really listened to it in a long time. I just listened to it at work or whatever. So like, don't come at me if I have that message all fucked up. But like, he's talking. I know J Rock's got a verse in there where he's talking about the government and they're taking cheese from people, which is money, which I mean, there's like I said, there's layers to it. I'm not stupid. I know that. I just couldn't tell you the layers off the top of my head. Then I had to go in to Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, because that kind of completes that circle of that first narrative arc of the album. He's talking about kind of his crimes and all of that for those first 4 tracks, and Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, that ends with one of his friends getting shot and asking Kendrick to sing about that friend if he becomes famous. I had that bleed into You, which is off to Fifth Butterfly, because You is Kendrick basically talking about how he is really blaming himself and depressed for his friend's death, and he feels like he could have done more about it. It might not be the same friend, but I feel like it kind of made the album click. Then I had Fear, because Fear is kind of going back to Wesley's Theory and his criminal background, and criminal. I don't, he hasn't really said a whole lot about it, so I don't know how much he did, but I mean, criminal. Let's just say I don't want to offend the dude. I'm a big Kendrick fan. Not trying to make him seem like he's a bad person. Fear is 3 different sections. Age 7, I believe it's age 14, and then age 21. I believe. No. It's age 7, I think 14 or something, some teenage age, and then 27, something like that. And he's talking about how his mom raised him, and then he's talking about how his life has affected him at each of the following ages. Again, I haven't listened to the song like full on in a long time. He actually didn't have Fear in his track list. I'm like 99% sure. He might have actually. I don't quite remember. But it was like one of those things where I just listened to it at work. Didn't really have time to soak it all in. But I knew right off the bat it wasn't working for me. So Fear goes back, and it kind of covers all that ground. And then I had to go into Untitled O2. Because in Untitled O2, he's kind of talking about is pushing the envelope as a person, and he's asking for God basically to give him another chance. Get God on the phone. And Untitled 2, I'm going to sound a bit like the Twitter dude. It's one of my favorite songs from Kendrick. I just love the bass and the way he plays with the flow at the end. But I think Untitled 2 really kind of brings you back to reminding you that even though he's been super successful as a rapper, he's still a person and he still has morality. And that's kind of what Damn's all about. And so I thought that Untitled 2 would be a good inclusion in this album because this is basically us trying to get the concept of Damn mixed with all of his songs and shorten it, is kind of what my goal was. That goes into I because after he's asking for morality and asking to be forgiven, he's realizing that regardless of the mistakes he's made, he's a good person and he loves himself. That goes into love because then it's kind of him realizing that he shouldn't just love himself, he should also love his lifelong partner. And after love, I had to go into Duckworth because the way Duckworth ends is him basically figuring out, well, yeah, I mean, he knew, but it's him revealing that a chicken incident between his father and the label owner, which I'm not really going to explain because it's easier for him to explain it than it is for someone analyzing the album to explain it. But it really just is one of those kind of like a J. Cole For Your Eyes Only, the finale track type of thing, where it's like, oh damn, that's how life could have played out and been different. And so that's why I included Duckworth there at the end because it really has that huge, huge effect where it kind of rips the carpet out from you. And it reveals that even though in this album he's talking about his life and he's talking about all that stuff and he's putting his problems in the forefront, he really can't control what happened before his life. And if he could, it would go exactly how it has been. But if he couldn't, it wouldn't be anywhere close. And because of the fact that he can't control that, he's really been handed a lucky hand to a degree. And I mean, that might not be, there's a reason that I made this track list and Kendrick didn't. But I mean, like with the album I made, that's kind of how I wanted to go about it, and that's kind of the big oomph feeling that I wanted to deliver at the end of it. And so, alongside that, I figured, what could I name this album? And I got to thinking about it. Duckworth which is his actual last name. Duckworth, Kendrick Duckworth. Duckworth because it's talking about him as a person. You know, um, other songs I could have included in here, but I didn't really want to because, like I said, I wanted to keep that Illmatic type of track list and all that. DNA. I love To Pimp a Butterfly, so any song off of To Pimp a Butterfly I would have gladly thrown in here. But I wanted to keep it below an hour 20. This is at 58 minutes. And I also kind of wanted to experiment with that Illmatic type of narrative thread. And I feel like I did pretty decent with this one, actually. But I don't know. I could just be, getting a little bit egotistical. But I'm going to throw the link in the description so you can go ahead and listen to it. And I hope you enjoyed this. And we got more Twisted Tracklist coming soon.